everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today we are back for another brand new video. Today's video is going to be a player focused type video. Now this is something we actually did a lot last year, and by a lot I mean twice. We done it on the man we will be discussing today, Alfredo Morelos, and none other than Josh Windass. But we'll move on from there. And this season we've already done one video, and that was on Glenn Middleton earlier on in the season, where I thought he'd be the breakout player this season. So this video, as I said, will be focusing on Alfredo Morelos, and it comes at a perfect time because the media have continued to ask Gerrard questions about Morelos, and Gerrard has came out and said something very, very interesting, which I'll read out later on about Alfredo Morelos. But as always, just a little quick reminder, if you haven't joined the channel already, please consider doing so. The progress we are making is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for all the support, all the comments, the likes and everything like that is absolutely killing it lately. And our channel is getting closer and closer, and we're chasing down the 23k dream, which is absolutely frightening. So thank you so much for getting involved, and yeah, let's just jump right into it, shall we? 3, 2, 1. Alfredo, 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 Alfredo. Alfredo Morelos is a different type of player. It's a player that we all fiercely protect. Even last season, when I was extremely critical of him in the bigger games where he was missing chances, I said every single aftermath with Snagsy, I love him as a player, but he's just not connecting. There's something missing. He's just not got it in the bigger games. And that was true last season. This season, he just looks like a completely different animal. Pun included. And I think there's a couple of reasons why that's actually happening now, and why Alfredo Morelos is the focal point of our entire side just now. But before we break down his stats and how he's doing compared to last season to what he's doing this season, we're going to read out the people's opinion later on as well to see how many goals you think he will score this season. We need to talk about what Steven Gerrard has come out and said today in the press, because I find this very, very interesting. He's basically asked about Alfredo Morelos and transfer speculation and his disciplinary record, and Gerrard was very short and precise. And he done that by saying he would fight tooth and nail to keep Alfredo Morelos at the football club. Now, as always, whenever we do these types of discussion videos and when I'm talking about someone's like statements, I'm going to read directly from the source. That way I didn't mess it up, like when I said Alfredo was missing the Hearts game. Apologies, he's actually missing the Dundee game. I'm an idiot. Let's move on. Right, so Steven Gerrard has had to say about Alfredo Morelos: I will fall out with people to keep him here. That's how much I like him. He is happy. He is enjoying his work. I'm told by people who have been around him a long time, this is the happiest he's ever looked. He recently signed a new deal. He has to just keep going. The key thing for us to keep him healthy and try to avoid these yellow cards. Now, we will break down the yellow cards, and I'll let you know how many yellows and suspensions, everything like that he's got later on in the video. But Gerrard even takes a little bit of the blame for the way that Alfredo Morelos is playing. He continues by saying, there is no doubt he is going to shatter what he got last season because we are creating chances. I'll fight tooth and nail to keep him here as long as possible. I love him and respect him, but I also understand every player has a price. From day one, I have told you I loved him, and that hasn't changed. It has grown. It is getting more. I want to keep him here as long as possible because he makes my job even easier. Now, this is the part of the interview I actually find very, very interesting, because they just ignored everything that he just said in the interview. They're like, cool, you're saying something nice about Morelos. We don't care about that. We want to push our disciplinary agenda. So they just score off all that, didn't even ask him any more to explain. No, they skipped straight to the yellow card from Livingston and said, do you think it was a yellow card, and what do you think about your suspension? This is what Gerrard has had to say. No complaints. I need to share some of that blame as well. I'm asking him to be in people's faces. I'm asking him to be aggressive and press and not stop short and really do what other centre forwards do to our defenders. His performance for 30 minutes was superb. We've just got to enjoy him. He's a top player. And that is kind of where it ends there. I'll also link that in the description if you want to read it fully for yourself. There's a bit more information on it as well. But I found that very interesting because Gerrard seems to have a clear connection with Alfredo Morelos. And I think Morelos has got a real connection with Gerrard as well, because it's a completely different player than last season. Last season he was running out in the channels and getting frustrated and just being nowhere near the box in some matches. This one, he's staying in the width of the box. He's always in and amongst the goals, and when we break down his goal scoring stats, you can clearly see that. And even the disciplinary thing I found was very interesting, that Gerrard's kind of shouldering that blame as well, saying that is the play style he wants. So the first question of today's episode will be, what is your reaction to that interview? I found it very, very telling and really interesting that Gerrard's actually asking Morelos to go get in people's faces, get amongst it and make it an aggressive match. Now, at this part of the video I want to go back and look at last season, because I think it's very important to look at. That was Morelos' first season with Rangers, adjusting to the league. He played 43 games, he got 18 goals, 8 assists, 12 yellow cards, 0 reds. Which obviously if you break down and add the goals and the assists, he was involved in 26 goals in 43 games, which is actually a really, really good turnaround. Which was a real surprise to me, if I'm being 100% honest with you, because I was very critical of Morelos last season. I'm not going to hide for it. I'm very honest on the channel when I try and say my thoughts and opinions after each and every single game. But there was clear things going on in the background. He wasn't happy with the management. He wasn't happy with the play style. And that was shown in his huffs and his puffs. And some of these games where he just wasn't getting anywhere near the box, where he was running back to try and get involved, that clearly hindered his game. But if you look at it overall, throughout the entire season, he was basically involved in 1 goal every 2 games, which is actually pretty damn decent. Now that was last season. Now jumping over to this season, Alfredo Morelos' stats are absolutely incredible. Not that many people would know that unless you're like a Rangers fan, because the way that the pundits and everything like that basically put out Alfredo Morelos is he's a liability and he doesn't score enough goals. Do you remember that BBC pundit that tweeted out about a week ago saying Morelos needs to start scoring goals? Do you remember that? Remember he done that? Yeah. I'm here to tell you that Alfredo Morelos has scored only 4 less than the golden boy of Scottish football, Moussa Dembele, did in 2 seasons. That's right, Alfredo Morelos is only 4 league goals behind what he did in 2 years, yet he's held up here, but Alfredo Morelos is treated like the shit on their shoe. You'd think to yourself, if a striker in about 4 or 5 months of actual gameplay is only 4 goals away from what a previous striker has scored in 2 seasons, you'd be applauded. But this is Scottish football, ladies and gentlemen, and you're not. And I just want to clarify something really, really quickly. The reason I actually mentioned Dembele there, because that same pundit that called out Alfredo Morelos for not scoring enough goals was the same one that was bumming up Dembele every single time he played. But little digs aside, let's actually look at the hard, cold facts, shall we? So far this season, Alfredo Morelos has played 26 games. He's scored 16 goals, and he's got 9 assists. So in truth, every single time Alfredo Morelos plays this season, he's basically scoring or assisting, he's impacting on the field, and that's including 1 substitute appearance in his most recent game, by the way, where he only played 24 minutes, so these aren't all starts. That's an incredible, incredible thing about Alfredo Morelos this season. Every single time he plays, he's either scoring or assisting. However, we need to look at the disciplinary as well, because he's had 10 yellow cards already this season, 2 less than he did the entirety of last season, and also has had 2 red cards, one being a straight red versus Aberdeen, and the other one where it was 2 yellow cards, which obviously brings that tag that you see from people like Chris Sutton and everything like that, calling him a liability all the time. You see it in the papers whenever a big game comes up, see, should Rangers risk Alfredo Morelos? Of course you can. He's scoring or assisting every single time he's playing. And this disciplinary thing isn't going to happen all the time. Gerrard, like I said, he is obviously asking him to be aggressive, but they are working on ways to be around referees, because the referees are choking to actually yellow card him now. Let's be 100% fair. They're looking at that. So Gerrard, the staff, has already mentioned that they're trying to work a way around that to get Alfredo Morelos to be calmer around the referee. And when he does sort that little problem out, can you imagine what he will do for the Glasgow Rangers? And it's no wonder that Gerrard's fighting tooth and nail. So that's actually going to be it. I know it was a little strange video, but hopefully you did enjoy it. I just wanted to break it down because I'm happy enough to stand up here and say I was completely wrong last season about Alfredo Morelos. This season, he's been absolutely incredible and certainly deserves all the supports and the chance. And it's just amazing whenever you see him smiling and bobbing his head to the fans singing his name. It's just absolutely incredible. And now the last question of the episode before we end today's video will be, how many goals do you think Alfredo Morelos will finish? That's right, I'm going big picture, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because if you look at the league, he's only 2 goals behind what he did last season. So I'm looking at full picture. I want it all. How many goals is he going to score? I'm going to predict, he's sitting at 16 just now, I'm going to predict 34. And whilst you're writing in how many goals you think Alfredo's going to score, I asked Twitter, so let's see what they've had to say. 405 votes in the hour it was up. Thank you so much for getting involved. 8% votes for 16 to 25 goals. 20% votes for 35 plus goals, but the far and away leader with 72% of the votes, 25 to 35 goals. So once again, we are in sync. So let's jump into rapid fire mode and read out what the people's had to say. David Blue says he will score 40 goals. I like that. The McLaughlin says he's got 30 plus goals, no problem, but I think we need someone else just as good in behind him, and we'll have even more goals in January, aka goals galore. Matt Menzies says, thank God it's 25 to 35, because last season I put 30 plus, and the bastard started missing sitters for the last 3 months. Yeah, that came back to bite me in the arse as well, Mark. I played it safe. Jamie Shepherd says 69. Great song by Brian Adams. Absolutely fantastic. Peter Ramsey says 29. Scott Young says 30 goals easy if we get to the last 32. Ian McDougall says I think he will get 27 goals this season. Mackay 26. I think he'll get around 30 goals this season, plus he's getting a lot of assists too. Hopefully stays for another season at the end of that as well. Brandon says this man could easily do 30 plus, but I'm happy with someone scoring 25. Ben says 36. He'll score 55 goals. That comes from Tom Phillips. And the last one we'll read out comes from Bang Jack. He says El Buffalo will score 35 plus. So there's the people's opinion. You've heard mine. You already know what to do by now if you want to get involved in today's video. If you don't mind smashing the like button when you're there as well, always helps the channel out. And if you would like to support it directly, because we're up to 32 Patreons now, thank you so much. It's going a long way in helping and improving the quality. That link for that to the Patreon will be in the description below. I've been CJ Nova 92. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.